No, that's fine. These things.
I just thought that I just literally thought last minute that maybe the phone might work this way instead. So it looks
Yeah,
pretty cool.
I'll have to check with the people at Be Live because maybe there might be something about the iPad settings that.
Oh well, when in doubt, what I do now, Dwight, is if there's ever a technical problem nowadays, what I do is I blame either Bill Gates, yeah, so Bill Gates, or the ghost of Steve Jobs. Yeah, because everything at the moment is it's some evil billionaire that's doing it all. Yeah, I think the world has just seen too many Bond movies. You know, that's the problem. It's like, yeah, some guys there stroking a cat somewhere, going, you know,
Yeah.
it
Okay.
it is what it is.
All right. I think let's see. Mark Black has found us. Tanya Monroe has found us. All right. Okay. And I'm just all right. There he is. Okay. As long as Terry Valor finds us,
Oh,
I'm good.
I tell you something. This is the thing. Terry Valor's the one constant in this shifting world that we've got right now. So you know, this is the first time in my life that I don't know what's going to happen next. And when Terry Valor turns up, balance is restored to to the force,
Yeah.
because we all need a constant in life. And
Yeah.
Terry Valor will always be with you, Dwight. Like literally, he will be with you. You are now linked together for eternity at 11:15 UK time, always. Yeah, so wherever you're going to be, he'll be there with you.
Yeah, he's been a real stalwart.
Yeah,
I
he's a
mean,
good guy.
yeah, like from day one, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad that we were able to switch back to Be Live because this is one reason why I love to stay. I love to work with it is because it allows me to put embarrassing photographs up on screen for.
There's quite a few of them in 51
Right.
minutes. Yeah.
Allows me to put embarrassing photographs up on screen for everybody to see.
Right.
So I want to ask you a question. Just takes me a couple minutes to find them all. All right. So is this, let's see here. Is this the real Mick?
Where nothing's come up. This right here, this is as real as it gets. This guy who's moving around, that this is as real as it gets. I'm like, like a Dollar Tree Vic Mackey. Yeah. Dwight, are you there? I feel like you've left me. I can't see anything.
All right. So you don't see that photograph.
Hello. Now you're back. I didn't see anything. What was the real Mick? You'll have to explain it.
It's you. I think you're in a boxing ring.
With a couple of ladies?
No, no. You've got a clipboard and a microphone, and you're
me.
dressed to the nines.
Oh yeah, Peaky Blinders. Yeah, that's
yes.
Yeah, I do some work with a charity, and it's a hospice for young children
Okay.
and young adults, and we do some charity boxing events 3 times a year. But we do them in different. We've had James Bond themed evenings. We've had Peaky Blinders themed evenings.
Okay.
So it's really good. And for white collar boxing, which I'm actually not a fan of at all, because at the end of the day, it's like you're getting 2 adults who can't fight to try and fight. So and then it's for charity, and yeah, it might be for charity, but maybe ethically and morally it's not right. But yeah, it's always a good event, and they're very well matched, and we literally we try and make sure that first of all we're raising money for a very good charity, but the other thing is it's an experience, and hopefully we get people to stick with the martial arts afterwards. And I don't know if you know this, it's a bit early in the conversation to say this, but martial arts the martial arts world would be great if we could get less martial artists in there and more normal people, because when normal people come and they just work out, they're great fun. Martial artists turn up and you're talking about a community that used to be able to advertise how to attract women in the advert, like how to get women in an advert at the back of most martial arts. And like, the guy who needs to send off for that course, come on, look, the looks have gone and the charm is still here. But when I was younger, I could have a conversation with a lady. But yeah, I do some emceeing for them, and we do a lot of the training with these guys. So yeah, that's literally one of the many things that I try my hand at.
All right, I'm gonna try to put another picture in. Let's see if you see that one. Maybe your screen's just not big enough. You can't see that one, huh?
Do you know what? I actually like the idea of you just explaining what they are, and then
so it's a shot of you.
Yeah.
I guess you're working on some dwelling place, but it's you with the plaster board and one with the I don't know what that piece of equipment is, but it's whatever you.
Please don't. Is it the one where I'm wearing the T-shirt that says "Make America Great Again"?
No, it's the one. It looks like it says Chiefs.
Oh yes. Oh, that's it. Yeah, one of my loves is ice hockey. I love ice hockey, and yeah, that's me. Probably this is the problem when you read too much philosophy, and you might be able to see behind me. There's a couple of pictures of my sons. All three of my sons work in academia. Two of them are actually heads of their departments, history teachers, and my youngest son teaches IT, and he's in charge of the internal IT systems for a couple of different schools. Mm-hmm. It's quite funny because I, when people say, "Oh, you're just a plasterer," I always say, first of all, I make the world a more beautiful place, one wall at a time. I bring order to chaos. I expect a positive change in people's lives every day. And this is the thing, Dwight. We were talking about it off camera. There's a real beauty to having a very simplistic life, where you just go out, you do some good in the world, you get paid well for it. You create something, which is what it's part of the human condition. We want to have a reason why we're on the planet. And I plaster walls. It's funny you said it was the Chiefs T-shirt, because I had a friend of mine, my best friend in the world, Alan Peasland. He got me a T-shirt. I need to preface it with this. Right now, we all know that getting a reality TV star to be the leader of the free world isn't a great idea anymore. It sounded great at the time. It's like one of those, when you're at a party at 2:30 in the morning, you've got to remember we're talking about the leader of the free world in America, which is a country that was built on a couple of guys sitting around drinking beer, moaning about how no taxation without representation. So, that's like a 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning chat with a few beers, and you're like, do you know what we'll do? We won't have any more of this, guys. We're going to fight back, which is a great idea at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. What did I sign up to? And then obviously the same situation is, getting Donald Trump in would be great for a bit of comedy. And then obviously his Twitter was great.
Right.
But, we paid a big price for that. And don't get me wrong. I remember the good old days, without going deep really quickly. I remember the good old days, especially in martial arts, where you could be diametrically opposed to somebody on a few opinions, but you could still be friends. Right. And I'm hoping we're going to go back to that. But yeah, the T-shirt that I had this T-shirt, and obviously I didn't realize what was going to happen. But I put underneath it, I put the hashtag was making ceilings great again, because I was plastering a ceiling, and that's come back to haunt me a little bit. Yeah. As I've said before, when you read too much philosophy, and you always wanted to do either a degree in philosophy or theology, and then you end up working on a construction site. And yeah, I'm Irish, I'm Catholic, you know what I mean? I work in construction. You know what you're going to get here, you know?
Yeah. But
So,
here's what I found out though. Here's what I found. You're actually royalty because you're descended from is it Tullius Cicero or
yeah,
Cicero
we,
Marcus Cicero
yeah,
Tullius?
Tullius Cicero, Marcus Aurelius, yeah. Well, we were, it's rather a tenuous link, but you know, he's one of the, yeah, again, it's a tenuous link, but I'm going to take it. It's
Right.
better than hey, it's better than being related to Ed Gein, isn't it? You know what I mean? A serial killer. You know what I mean? So you're related. You're related to the one of the founding fathers of like Stoicism. You know, that school of philosophy. And you go, yeah. Or you're related to that guy who used to kill women, aren't you? No, I'm not. Yeah, but I'm also in Ireland. In Ireland, we can trace ourselves back to the kings of Tara. So unfortunately, in Ireland, there was quite a few kings. You know what I mean? I don't know if you know much about Ireland, but they argue quite a lot about certain things. And
Oh yeah. Yeah. That I know. Now I'm trying to remember who told me the joke about an Irish guy walking by, and there's some other guys fighting, and he says, "Is this like a private thing, or can anybody get in?"
Trust me, if it's a wedding, anyone could join in. I actually, this will be a nice little segue into one of the things I say when I'm teaching seminars. You know, the whole one of the great things about teaching Panatukan is there's always some guy who's normally out of shape, who's never had a fight in his life, and when he sees you do a parry in a bridge or a cover or maybe a destruction or an inside gunting or something, and they always say, "But why don't you just hit him in the head?" And I always say, you got to remember, all conflict is like an Irish wedding. The arm is like that drunk uncle, but it's the bride and the groom that are fighting, and that's the head. And I'm going to get to them in a minute, but I have to get through the drunk uncle. He's in the way. So then, then obviously,
Yeah.
I get a lot of people saying, you don't take this very seriously. And I'm like, you're talking about a 51-year-old man who wrestles his friends while wearing pajamas, and then spent most of my early and late teens and some of my 20s fighting invisible men when I was doing kata. You know, you can't take any of that seriously. You know, at the end of the day, martial arts is amazing and it's a great thing, but there's a sense of you should look at the ludicrous side of it too.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting, Mick, because I think the last time I saw you live and in person was in Minnesota.
Yeah.
At the MKG Instructor Conference.
It was indeed.
I think so, right? And that's when it hit me. What you just said, I sensed that back then. What you just said about not taking it too seriously.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, but that not just martial arts, life as well.
Yeah.
Everything. You know. You've got to remember, first of all, the whole nature of the human condition is almost ludicrous. We've spent what, 2 millennia now trying to work out the reason why we're here, and we still haven't got a clue. You know, and then we have this wealth of knowledge, which I'm going to have to go to something when the first time I met you is what. I'll go back to that in a second, but we've got this wealth of knowledge at our fingertips, right? You know, we can pick up our phone and anything that was ever written, or any thought that was put down, or any achievement that humankind, I'm going to be a bit more woke here now, right? Anything that was ever done is at our fingertips, but we're still more interested in the Kardashians, you know, like and it's almost ludicrous. You know, I take the effect of what martial arts is, and there's certain individuals I don't take seriously. I hold them in a very profound level of respect.
Mm-hmm.
Only for the simple reason that I don't take anything seriously, and they've been able to affect me. You know, people like Guru Dan Inosanto, Rick Faye, Terry Barnett, Rick Young, Phil Norman, Ralph Jones, Bob Breen. You know, I could keep going on, but you know, these are guys who, when I first met them, apart from, I have to admit, Guru, because Guru Dan's a completely different character. No matter how long you've known him, you know, that's, you know, come on, man, you're talking about the man.
Yeah.
You know, like Jigoro Kano, Gishin Funakoshi. I'm not really a Bruce Lee fan, which is a thing that you shouldn't really say to people about, you know, Jeet Kune Do, because you know, when I say I'm not a fan, I am a fan of his, but I'm in awe of Dan Inosanto.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
who, by the way, said to say, give you his best regards, because I was texting him earlier, and I said, yeah, I told him you and Kevin Seaman were going to be with me today, and he sent his love.
Guru's the man. It's, you know, Guru was the first person I ever saw with an iPod, and he brought it over to UK, and he had this iPod, and I said, what you know, what is this? And he said, we've got 1,000 songs in there. And I was thinking, what, are they on a disc or something? And he went, no, they're like a file. And I literally went, Guru, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you? And at the time, he was like 71 or something. And it reminds me of the old Billy Connolly joke about, he said it about Reagan years ago. Billy Connolly used to say, Ronald Reagan and my father are the same age. Ronald Reagan has he has his finger on the button, right? He can, boom. My dad's the same age. We don't even let him have the TV remote. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because, you know, as you get older, this understanding of technology and stuff you're not supposed to have. Right. Where the one thing that's always amazed me about Guru Inosanto is he's been at the forefront of everything. Mm-hmm. And not only has he been at the forefront, he hasn't been one of these guys who's just observed it. You know, which you know. Yeah, if we just take jiu-jitsu for an example, at 59 years of age, he could have gone in there and just be one of those guys. We all know it. You know, you go to a seminar and there's a guy, everyone else is training, a guy walks in, and it normally hits them around 55, where they come in and they don't want to train anymore. And you're like, right. But the training part's the only cool part, really. You know, I have to hang out with some of these guys I don't really even have anything in common with. But Guru went in and he just threw himself in there. So not only was he relevant, but he wasn't going in there like, I'm going to be a mover and a shaker. He was going in there, this is cool, I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, the second time that he really had me in awe was myself and Terry Barnett in Valencia. Guru was showing us his workout, you know, in the Khmer boxing, the Cambodian boxing that he was doing. Mm-hmm. And he showed me 3 rounds, and I said to Guru, I said, you're going to have to turn it off because I'm tired watching that workout. You know what I mean? Apart from doing it. And like, he was just still going, and it was unbelievable. It's like, you know, as I said, that's the one thing I do take. I take very seriously that, you know, Isaac Newton said we stand on the shoulder of giants, right? And it is the truth. And then the crazy thing about, especially the JKD world is, you know, it's like we can go and, you know, we can train with, say, Muhammad Ali, the equivalent of that. And not only do you get to train with them, you actually, you know, there's the old saying, it's a meme that they put up now, which is train that well that your idols become your rivals. Yeah. Mm. And I look at it and I go, yeah, all of my idols, and this is no word of a lie, all of the people that I looked up to, and I used to read about their adventures in the magazines, going and traveling off to LA and Minneapolis, you know, like Rick Young, Terry Barnett, Bob Breen. Not only do they become my teachers, they become my friends.
Right.
Even now, you know, as I've said, Guru Dan calls me Mike, and I always say he almost gets my name right. He knew Bruce Lee. Yeah, he has no business knowing a plasterer from Coventry. You know what I mean? But it's that whole thing where you go, I'm truly blessed, man. How am I? Yeah, how did someone as untalented and unmotivated, and you know, I hate hypocrisy because I know that I'm a very lazy person by nature. So the thing is, the great thing about training is it's made me be accountable. Mm-hmm. And as much as I enjoy comfort and being lazy, I hate hypocrisy more. So it's that hatred of that. It's the Irish and Catholic self-loathing thing.
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to live with myself. You know what I mean? But, you know, those 7 weeks on the sofa watching box sets at the start of the lockdown were, I have to admit, I can see why some people end up being an Oprah Winfrey 1 hour special. the whole, like my 550-pound life. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm about 12 months away from that.
Right.
Get into it, Mick.
Hey, everybody from England that I talk to has almost everybody has the two of the people that you just mentioned in common: Bob Breen and Dan Inosanto.
Yeah.
Right. You can't see it, but I'll put it up for everybody else's benefit. This is your World of Martial Arts interview with Bob Breen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So
Bob's the man.
yeah.
Bob's influence, it's not even, it won't be understood for another 10, 15 years.
Mm.
And as I always say, I'm a bad Bob Breen tribute act, because we both have the same questionable humor. I nowhere near the skill level, but Bob's been just wonderful to me from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob's literally one of the only people I know that has totally lived his, what is he, 60, 68 years old, 69 years old. He's literally lived his whole life on his own terms. Like I look at that, and it's like, Bob will tell you he's never had a real job.
Right.
And Bob's had super opportunity, like loads of opportunities where if he'd have been a little bit more mercenary, or a little bit, I don't want to use the term driven, because that sounds like he isn't. But Bob's very happy going, eating it. Like, as Bob will tell you, he's dined in the finest restaurants in the world. He's done some amazingly cool stuff. And then if you go around his house, I used to actually say to Bob, Bob's the only person that you've seen Anchorman, the movie, yeah?
No.
Anchorman with Will Ferrell. So
I know of it, but no, I don't see it.
So basically, Will Ferrell in part of the movie plays the jazz flute, right? Which the minute you hear that, you go, you're opening yourself up for me just to ridicule you. And then Bob gets it out, and the minute it's like, you just go, I should, that point where you go, that's so cool, but it shouldn't be cool. And that's literally what Bob is. Bob's like this paradox where he just is like the coolest guy and you go, but I'm not. Yeah, Bob's amazing. I love him, man. He's great.
Yeah,
he's
he's something.
He's a force of nature. He truly is. He truly is. And as I said, he's literally his whole life, from what I can work out, he's literally lived his whole life. He is the JKD guy, which is like, be like water, man. And it's like, how freeing must that be? As you said when we're off camera, you go, I just have a very, very easygoing life. And I'm telling you, look, zero responsibility. A lot of people are starting to realize,
right,
quite an alluring lifestyle.
Yeah, because when I do the postcard for the show, I usually say with so and so of, and then I put the name of their school or something.
Yeah.
The only thing I could find for you was advanced ass kicking.
Yeah, well, you
right.
See, this was the thing. I used to teach when people would say, what are you going to teach? And I went, secret stuff. And that's from Rick Faye. And this is probably a good point to point out to the guys who are listening that may not know this story about you, Dwight. The first time I met you was 2012 in Duluth, Minnesota. And we had it was 2012, and it was the instructor conference for the MKG group, and you came up, and basically you came up and gave a bit of a reality check, because you literally just said, you're Rick Faye. You remember, you're Rick Faye. And Rick was like, and I think it was the floor was open to questions, and it was like, can I just say something? And you got up and you just went, you're Rick Faye. So why don't you act like you're Rick Faye? And everyone was like, whoa, what's Dwight saying? But what you were doing was you were illustrating the point that where in the JKD world, sometimes you're just so happy going along, hanging out with cool people, that you don't realize that we have this life-changing thing at our fingertips.
Right. Yeah.
And if you don't, sometimes, sometimes you have to be reminded of that. And it was so cool because I thought, like, literally, as you were saying, I was like, yeah, I like this guy, man, because it's that point, you know, where, you know, in martial arts, you know, you're supposed to become humble, humility, you know, and you know, it's that whole thing where you meet, you know, it's the old joke about the Japanese karate master and the Chinese kung fu master, and literally, they go, I'm not worthy to even shake your hand, sir. I'm not even worthy to stand on the same dirt as you, sir. Stand on the same dirt. I'm not even worthy to be buried in the dirt under you. You know, all of that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously, yeah, what I've always had in martial arts is when people say you're really good, and I went, thanks. And oh no, you shouldn't really say that. And I'm like, after 36 years of doing something, if I haven't improved, then you know what? Maybe I need a better hobby. And the other one as well is there's that real, it's that juxtaposition in martial arts where it's like you need to learn humility, and you go, okay, learning humility is cool, but understanding the level that you're at, and not only understanding it, but, you know, owning that. And I know that makes me sound like some awful life coach, you know, I don't want to go like Tony Robbins here, but it's that point where, you know, it's that point where you realize that, no, what I've done, there is value to this, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then if I've got value, then I can share it, you know.
Right.
I really truly believe that, you know, especially in Jeet Kune Do, I don't think we've missed the opportunity, but we have this opportunity to completely change the world. You know, MMA should have been JKD.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should have been that. For definite. You know, like the BJJ world proved it. If the Gracies had just said to the Machados, do you know what, guys? Don't worry about that 10% fee, you know, that we normally will waive that. And they were like, no. And so next thing you know, it went from being Gracie Jiu-Jitsu to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And now it's out there, and now, yeah, it belongs to everyone. But, you know, nobody, you know, MMA, okay, on the skill level, this is a Guru Dan Inosanto-ism right here. Guru was asked, what do you think of MMA? And he said, they're great, but they're about 20 years behind. And I don't think that's even like, yeah, it's not on the homina, you know, enlightenment thing. I think it was just the fact that it was, you know, the very almost dogmatic approach that they have in MMA, which is if it works, then they never test it again. This is a Rick Young line. I love this one of Rick's, which he said years ago. How many JKD guys does it take to change a light bulb? And it goes, it only takes one, but we're trying to work out 15,000 different ways of screwing it in there. You know, because we're more interested in how many ways can you do this?
Right.
You know, and I've taken that approach. You know, as I always say about jiu-jitsu in BJJ. If anyone ever says you've got quite good at this now, Mick, and I said no, I've just ran out of ways of being really, really crap at it. You know what I mean? I've literally, you know, I've been armbarred that many times now. Yeah, it's like, and again, that's what we always embraced in JKD. We embraced the failure. You know, it was like when no one else was going to spar hard. Yeah, like the term scientific street fighting always amuses me. You know what I mean? Because again, that's like, there's a lot of syllables in there for the people who are going to punch each other in the face, don't you think? But again, it's that, you know, we're trying to work out why. And as we're trying to work out why, you know, it lends on to everything else. You know, like JKD, as I said, we MMA, we should have had that.
Yeah.
We were in on the, we were in, we were the first guys to bring in Thai boxing.
Right. I mean, and literally the first shoot wrestling competition was held before UFC 1. You know, and it was everything that UFC became.
Yeah.
You see, so under the auspices of Yuri Nakamura,
yeah,
at the Inosanto Academy in '93, they were doing what they're doing now.
Yeah. Well,
you see?
Well, this is it. You know, you've led into something that I remember Eric, like me and Eric Paulson were talking about this once, and Eric was the first guy, and this is like, you know, nobody has to big up Eric Paulson because Eric's Eric's Eric. You know what I mean? There's terms where you say pioneer. Eric's a pioneer.
Yeah.
That it's as simple as that, right? But Eric turned around. He said when they were first looking to expand the UFC. By the way, this is a very contentious thing I'm going to say right now. Dwight, how many Brazilians do you know?
Personally or know of?
Well, personally.
None.
Right. Okay. Well, let me give you an idea, right? So if you ever are interested in doing any business with anybody, right? Brazilian they're the loveliest guys in the world, but when it comes to business, they only have two ways of doing it. They're either super canny individuals, they're crafty individuals when it comes to business in a good way. They're very successful, or they will turn up to a business meeting 3 days late wearing flip-flops and a rash guard. That's how it works. There's no in between with them, right? So when people talk about the UFC and they say, oh, do you think Rorion Gracie knew what he was creating? What I always say is it's quite simple. Rorion Gracie, first of all, is a lawyer. He's a very, very smart guy. Do you think he would have walked away from $1 billion sport, not just an event? But it's like turning around and saying, that guy who first started kicking a ball around and he thought, I'll walk away from the NFL. Do you think he would have done it? No, he wouldn't have, right? So it was one of those situations where they had no idea what they had. At the time, it was an infomercial, quite literally. I've said this, I've done a bit of stand-up comedy and I'm back writing some stand-up comedy again. Yeah. And one of the things I always say about the UFC is the UFC is literally like, you know, at 2:30 in the morning when you can't sleep and you turn on the TV, and then you realize that not only do you really need a George Foreman grill, because after 2-3 minutes, this guy has sold you on that you need that grill. Yeah. And then next thing it's like, oh, we'll buy a shake weight as well. You know, I didn't even know I needed a shake weight. You get a shake weight. No, I'm Irish and Catholic. I don't even like the way that shake weight has to work out. You know, but you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I get it.
But the thing is, the UFC was an infomercial for BJJ and nothing else.
Right.
And this goes back to where Eric came in, because when Eric came in, he went to take that to the next level. You need gloves, you need more rules, and you need weight divisions. And I remember Eric saying to me when he said that, it was considered heresy. Mm-hmm. They were like, yeah, but it's style versus style. And you go, right, okay. But Mighty Mouse versus Brock Lesnar is never going to end well. You know, that's like China fighting Panama. You know what I mean? No matter how good Panama might put up a good fight, I'm sorry, but, you know, the red machine's going to get you. And Eric was way ahead of the game there, way ahead of the game. And I interviewed Eric for my podcast, and it was really cool because the way that Eric explained like the genesis of it all, and I've read quite a few articles and I've seen a few interviews with people, and it was the way that there's absolutely no denying that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in that range, in that environment, and as Rick Faye always says, in a well-lit, padded environment with a referee and no strikes allowed, that is a great way of fighting. Mm-hmm. Not so much at an Irish wedding when everyone's 8 pints deep, and then they all remember they're wearing hobnail boots, even the bride, right? But I have to say that I'm Irish, but it's understanding what it is. And right now, especially in the martial arts world, I've got friends of mine in BJJ who will tell me that if it came down to it, for real, BJJ would work, because 99%, I don't know who makes up these statistics, by the way, but 99% of all fights end up on the floor. And I always say, unless you're in a wheelchair, guess what? 100% of them start standing up, and only one of you has to be 99% on the floor. Hopefully, I'm going to still be standing. So it's it's a strange way, but we were way ahead of the game, man. We missed the boat on owning that sport.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I really believe so.
I think it's JKD has long been infected with this lack of self-promotion.
Mm,
You know, some of the highest notch people, top notch people, but they just had no idea how to put themselves and their stuff out there.
yeah, yeah.
Right. So, but I still think we had a role model for that.
Yeah.
You know, because I just explained to one of my friends the other day that Bruce Lee practiced a marketing principle called he practiced a principle called marketing to the affluent.
Yeah.
You see, because he,
Well, yeah. Who you're going to get is your private, your personal students: Steve McQueen,
yeah,
James Coburn.
right,
Come on.
yeah.
Yeah.
The concept is have as your clients or your customers that group of people who are least or last affected by financial concerns.
Yes.
You see,
Yeah.
now you do that, and when everybody else is closing because their students can't afford or whatever, you don't have that problem.
Yeah. Well, you see, again, this is the thing. It's like, rightly or wrongly, especially in the JKD world, we've been, we've followed, you know, we followed Guru Dan and his example. But Guru Dan would train. He would teach for free.
Yes.
And if that's what you want to do, then more power to you. But if you want to make a living at this, there's that point where, again, it's that whole: do you want to be a Mac Dojo? Which, by the way, I have to admit, I don't know about you, right? I don't know what it's like in the US right now. But I came back from the gym tonight. Bear in mind, no restaurants are open. You can only get takeaways. McDonald's had a queue of 50 cup. Bear in mind that, that's not the most nutritious cornerstone of anybody's diet, right?
Right.
And they're queued out the door.
Yeah.
And it's 25, 30 cars in the parking lot, right? And I went past 3 McDonald's and they're all the same. First of all, you know what you're going to get. You don't go in there. It's not like, you walk in there and the Big Mac's going to be £4.50 or $4.50 here and then $5 there. It's uniform, That was the thing that always weirded people out. Where you go to Europe and they would go, we haven't got the quarter pounder, because of the metric system. Obviously, I'm quoting Tarantino here, but you went there and you go, oh, you got the Royale with cheese, and you're like, but it's the same price as back home. Like the only thing that they used to throw, like the curveball, was the Mac rib. You know what I mean? You buy that and no one knew what the hell that was. You know what I mean? I still don't know. I think the cure for COVID might be in that. But the thing is, they call a Mac Dojo bad, but it's not even a restaurant. You know what I mean? But it's a damn successful franchise.
Yeah.
And then you come to martial arts, and what you've got is you've got a guy working out of a church hall who'll do it for free.
Mm-hmm.
And then next thing you know, you got the other guy who's like the guaranteed black belt for his kid. And unfortunately, in 3 years. And unfortunately, because we're a consumer-driven market, it's like, Dwight, you wouldn't go and buy a car and be told that it may go for about 7 years. This warranty may last for this, maybe 4 years, maybe 3 years, or might even be 2 years. What's the miles per gallon? Oh, well, 1 week it might be 4. Next week it might be 40. But that's martial arts, because you go there, there's no uniformity there.
Right.
So, and then when people who don't do martial arts, they walk in, and the first thing you say, well, how long would it take to be a black belt? You go, how long are you going to be here? How long are you going to work? And people can't work in those abstract concepts. Like, that's a very abstract concept for a lot of people. So now, would you care about how long it would take to get to a grade? Like, do you actually even think apart from certificates under people you really respect? The rest of it's just paper, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
So it's bizarre. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why martial arts is so screwed up, because we're trying to live our lives by a code that, it went out with that, when John Wick was dressed like a samurai, 57 Ronin, what I mean? It's gone out with that, it's, you try and have those rules, but they don't work in the real world. I've always said before, you can have a Bentley or an integrity. You can't have both. Yeah, especially in martial arts. You know what I mean? You meet a guy with a Bentley and you go, where'd you get this? All from martial arts. You go, that's a lot of kids you've taught them, because guess what? Adults won't pay that sort of money. And it's like, it's that whole thing. It's funny. It's a very funny, very, very funny industry. Very funny.
To me, it's that it's a constant quest for balance, because there's got to be some applicable aspects to what the Mac Dojo does in terms of longevity, for example, right? And we all know the longer that students stay with you, the better it is for you, income-wise. So there's got to be something useful that we can pick up from them. Probably the only thing they could not offer us would be quality martial arts.
Yeah.
But
again, this is, you've hit on something really, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this recently. When we first started training, what were you going to train? Why did you train? What was your motivation, Dwight?
So I'm like you and Rick. No, I'm like you and Rick Faye in this regard. No, I'm not, because you and Rick Faye went for Inosanto and stayed for Inosanto. I went because of Bruce Lee, but stayed for Inosanto.
Yeah. Well, you see, this is the thing. So first of all, that just illustrates that you have more than a working knowledge on martial arts, right? Because I don't know if you've ever had this, but when you have non-martial artist friends, or you're dealing with people outside of martial arts. So in my real job of plastering, when people say, "So you teach martial arts? What do you teach?" And I go, "Well, it's sort of like MMA." And well, what's it called? And I said, "Well, it's called Jeet Kune Do." And then people immediately are like, "Do you serve that with rice, or is that with noodles?" Or they have no idea. And then if you call it JKD, they're like, "Well, what does that mean?" And people like simplicity. So what I've found now in martial art, I just say, I just teach generic martial arts or secret stuff. And then what you've got is where there was a whole generation who got in through Bruce Lee to defend themselves. All of these things that we used to always hear back in the day, wasn't it? And it was like, a child would be brought to you, they're being bullied, or, I want them to be able to defend themselves. And now more and more, what's happening is parents coming in and going, "Can you sort the kid out? He's fat." And like, that's literally what they say. And you're like, so you just want them to lose weight. You could take them to the gym. And they went, "Yeah, but the byproduct of that is they'll be able to defend themselves." And you're like, no, the byproduct of being able to defend themselves is if they follow it correctly, they won't be. And not only that, who's feeding this kid? He's 7 years of age. The last time I checked, I don't know many 7-year-old kids who are frying chicken every day. You know what I mean? Somebody else is giving them that chicken. But it's like, it's that whole thing where it's martial arts and the world have shifted. And especially now, martial arts, my favorite line is, "Well, do you think that work in reality?" And I went, "But I can't get within 6 meters, 2 meters or 6 foot of another human being now." Do you remember years ago? It was like clinch, grab, take down. Somebody comes at you now, you're like, "Dude, just don't cough on me." I've seen I Am Legend, and Will Smith did okay for 3 years with a dog and a copy of Shrek.
Right.
He let the woman move in for 1 day, Dwight.
Yep.
He was there for 1 day, and he lost his house, and she stole his car, and he died. You know what I mean? I was like, I was looking at that going, that's the
Hey,
banging name of that movie.
didn't he have a Bob Marley soundtrack as well?
No, if you don't have a Bob Marley soundtrack, then you're like, Dwight, I have a gig. I'll send you the link afterwards. I've got to give a shout out to my good friend Scotty. Scotty from well, he used to have On the Mat. He owns Lucky Gear, right? Scott Nelson, great guy. If you ever get the chance to interview him, he's amazing. He spends his time between Puerto Rico and Vegas, just from selling geese. Yeah, so that's all he does. But I've got a gig, and it's called the Jitsu gig. Yeah,
Ah!
so it's the cool. Like, trust me, so it's got the Lion of Judah on one side.
Yeah.
It's got Lord Have Mercy, and then what else has it got? It's got a couple of Bob Marley lyrics on it. But I used to tell people, when people ask me, because I'm really interested in theology, they'd say, "What are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm a Buddhist Rastafarian." And they're like, "Really? You don't have the hair, you don't have the dreadlocks, and and I'm like, no, that's the way of life." But again, if you don't have any Bob Marley, you don't have any Black Uhuru, sorry, you don't have any Peter Tosh.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're leading a very, very boring life, my friend.
Yeah. But I like only one Steel Pulse album, the True Democracy album. Yeah, that's the only one I like.
Really? I saw Black Uhuru in 1994 in Germany when I lived over in Germany, and they did a great cover version, and you wouldn't be able to guess what the song was. If I say Hendrix, that'll give you a clue.
No way.
Hey Joe, they did a cover version of Hey Joe, in typical Black Uhuru style. It went on for like 15 minutes, and it was it was that moment where it's like, it can't get any cooler.
Yeah.
It went up another notch, and then it went up another notch, because where I live in Coventry, the next city along is famous now for Peaky Blinders, Birmingham, but we have a band there called UB40, and UB40 was named after, that was the card that you used to get when you were unemployed. And they had a couple of songs. One was called the 1 in 10, which was basically an ode to like the unemployment lines. But the great thing about Birmingham and Coventry is we had a massive Irish community, and we had a massive Afro-Caribbean community. So what you'll find is you have a load of guys who are into Irish ceilidh music, and then they all love reggae as well. And then no one can work out how. And like UB40 are a cool band. I've seen them play a few times. And then we had the ska movement in Coventry. So we had like, the Specials were a big band. So the thing about reggae, or the thing about music, music's one of my greatest loves. And then when I lost my hearing in one ear, it is true that the minute you think you're going to lose it, boom, you have that like appreciation again. It's like Guru Dan would, as I always say to, when Guru was on about having 1,000 songs on his iPod, I said to Guru, like, and literally it was that point where, I had to look around to make sure that Rick Young couldn't hear me, because, I would have been taken outside, I think. And I said, but Guru, it can't all be 1,000 copies of the Hawaii Five-0. Because I'm telling you something. I know if that isn't his favorite song, I know it's in his top one. Because every time you whenever you go to a seminar, Book Him Dano is coming straight out. Yeah. And when it happens, I always look at Terry Barnett and I point at the invisible watch, because obviously we're training, and I always go, Terry, that train's never late, because it'll da 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 da. It was like I play that in my classes.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, it's good. But Bob Dylan's a big hero of mine. He actually played a concert. I don't want to be too rambling about this, but there's a team called the Bohemians in Dublin, and they got a football top, because I know you like the old soccer jerseys and stuff. I'll see if I can hunt one down for you. They did an away kit last year, and it's got Bob Marley, It's got the fist, the whole lot on it, because he played one concert. So Bob Marley was in Dublin for one day. He had that much of an influence on that Bohemians football team. Literally, they have a picture of him on the stands. But this soccer kit is red, gold, and green, baby. I'm telling you, I wear it all the time. I wear it on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed how? See what we just that little discourse we just had about music. That JKD is almost exactly the same thing.
Always. You got the thing is JKD will open up routes where it's like you know, Rick Faye always says this, which I love. It's like how is it that a brain surgeon can be friends with a bricklayer? Because you would never meet each other in everyday life. And yeah, it goes back to what I was saying about earlier. I really hope, I think it will work out. But I really hope that this recent testing time, as they all in these testing times, politicians say, right? First of all, most people are going through some really, really awful situation. You know, that's why I try and keep a sense of humor on it. And I'm quite lucky because I live in a harmonious house. I've been married, like, ironically, Irish and Catholic, and I've been married to an English Protestant girl for 32 years. You know what I mean? So I'm telling you, you know, it will work out. But yeah, I want that return to where people are, you know, diametrically opposed politically, you know, that sexual orientation. That was the one thing that I always loved about JKD. Whereas, yeah, you would come in, and if he was an idiot, like, that was the great thing, you know what I mean? It was like you could be friends with like a lesbian black girl, and then a guy would walk in with a shaved head, working construction, and go, "Isn't he your mate?" And I went, "I've got more in common with her. Way more in common with that guy's a clown." You know what I mean? I've got nothing in common with it. And you know, it JKD gives you that level of behavioral flexibility. You know that, and again, I'm quite outspoken in my views when it comes to JKD, because I think one of the things where it was like you said earlier, where we haven't been, I have to phrase this correctly now, where we haven't been forthcoming in putting ourselves forward, yeah, which is true. What we haven't also done is we've allowed things to slide a little bit, where some guys trained for 3 weeks with some guy who trained with Bruce Lee for a month years ago. And this guy, well, I teach JKD. And you're like, really? You must have been a really fast learner. You know, you're teaching something, and it might be valid, but it ain't that. And then it was like, you know, that's when we started, to get this clear delineation between, like, you know, Jump Fan Kung Fu, and like, which by the way, I personally still think as a standalone martial art, yeah, the Jump Fan's pretty damn good. You know, Jose Aldo lost, and I've said this to John Kavanagh. Conor McGregor, high, low, high, boom, take that. JKD principles. You know, Conor McGregor got the easiest route to that title anyway, and he won it using JKD principle. Yeah, so it really, really did work. And when people say that they do Jeet Kune Do and they don't, it irks me. And I don't, fair play. If that's what they want to say, they do. But I truly, truly believe this, and this is going to upset quite a few people. If you haven't got a direct link to Dan Inosanto somewhere in your lineage, so you've trained with someone and they haven't been directly linked, I'm afraid I don't think, I don't really think, and that's no knock, because obviously if you're directly linked to Taki Kimura and Ted Wong, then yeah, but you are doing JKD, that's it, and that's where it stops. You know what I mean? But if you're doing, if you like, and again, I used to love the idea of I do original JKD, and and I do concepts, and they go, well, what do you think? And I went, well, you've got a Model T Ford, which is ace, but I've got a Tesla. How's that? And it's like, what do you mean? I said, well, we had this, but then we took it to there. Yeah. And that doesn't, and again, it's, one thing I do think about Bruce Lee, I think he was way ahead of his time on certain things. So isn't, that old adage of, when you needed to get across the river, that canoe was really important to you. But now you're walking through the bush. Why have you still got the canoe on your back? You know, they absorb what is useful, you know, all of that. And I really think that we needed to be a little bit stricter. But again, you know, it's not in Guru Dan's nature to be like that, which, you know, is one of the reasons why we love the guy. Because, you know what I mean? He, you know, he's a very forgiving individual. You know what I mean? Whereas I'd be like, sorry, mate, you're not doing that. You know what I mean? It's just
no, I get it. What you just said there about Bruce Lee being way ahead of his time, I think that actually is part of the reason why people who think that what they do and their approach is out of loyalty,
yes,
they don't realize how mistaken they are, because they didn't understand how far ahead he was.
you like, this is the thing, right? It's like, you're talking like, I've had this with a few people online when they've started going, but it really works. And I'm like, right, if it really works, bear in mind, I did say earlier, Conor McGregor beat Jose Aldo in the UFC with this, right? And he did. The principles. So not even really the technique, the principle behind it, changing his level. And like, you know, just to expand on that, I truly believe Conor McGregor beat Jose Aldo before he got into the ring. Because when they were doing stare-off, he was doing all this Dragon Ball Z shizzle. And Jose Aldo is this guy from Brazil going, what is this guy going to actually throw at me? So he was already in his head. So, of course, the whole thing with Bruce, where it was like, you know, you have to be emotionally connected to this, which, by the way, when I hear things like that, I always go, emotionally connected to it. Wow. Have I just walked into an encounter group here? Are we going to get into a circle and sing Kumbaya in a minute? It's like, you know, but then that shows, like, on my side as well, it shows a level of like nonchalance and maybe a bit of I'm not as understanding of it all. You know, again, it's another Guru Dan Inosantoism, when he said years ago about how the old Filipino guys used to say, there's magic in this art, Danny, there's magic. And then Guru used to say, you have to remember 100 years ago, microbiology was magic. Now it's science. And then you just like, you know, that point where you go, yeah, and that's the point where I turn around to whoever was in the cinema, in the seminar with me. I go, that dude seriously. I didn't think about that. You know what I mean? I didn't think about that. But like, Bruce was way ahead of his time. But it's like when people say, this is what Bruce would still be doing now, and you're like, I don't think he was, because he was on the cutting edge, not just of his martial arts, but Dwight. Like, I'm 52, so I was born in '69, right? And I know what the fashions were like in the 70s, right? And you should have seen some of the stuff that Seagull Lee was wearing, man. You know, some of those fashions, like, I didn't see him in a two-piece suit. So, you know, when I see that Pax Al Dar, I'm looking at it and go, yeah, that's cool. And like, again, Bruce was wearing, like, the Ping Choi Gua Choi. I still say that whenever I teach anybody, if I have to go to a karate school and they want me to teach, I always say, this is how way ahead of the time Bruce was. Bruce knew that everyone started in that Gigan Barai stance with their arm down. So what did he do? He said, I'm going to take them to a place that they're familiar, and I'm going to drag them out of there. So he did the Ping Choi Gua Choi straight in. And I was like, and they go, wow, he's a genius. And it's easy to catch that bus when you know what time it's going to arrive. And that's what he was. And you honestly think he wouldn't have been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? You know, when people ask me what Bruce Lee would be doing now, I'd be like that. If there was an 8-year-olds division in the UFC, I think he'd be fighting in that, because that's the sort of person, from everything I've read about him, I truly believe that that's what he'd be doing. You know, he certainly wouldn't be doing the same shizzle that he was doing back in the 60s. You know, I don't know about you, Dwight, but I've got rid of the flares that I used to wear back in the day. You know what I mean? I only wear them to bad taste parties now. So, you know, it's like, why would you be doing stuff that you did back then? You know, you'll revisit it, because, again, you know, you look to the future, you're informed by the past, but you got to live in the moment. And I know that sounds like a fortune cookie, right? But it's the truth. You know what I mean? So that's where we'd be. You know, I you know, either that, or he would have been really successful as an actor, and I think we would have gone still down the same route, because Guru Dan, he's always going to be a researcher. He's always going to be like, which is what he is. He's one of the preeminent teachers in the world in any medium, for the simple reason that he just doesn't stand there. He'll still do it.
Right.
And not only does he still do it, but he has to learn it firsthand. You know what I mean? It's like, we're truly blessed to follow the guy's example.
Yeah.
I
could see the Inosanto Academy existing as it does.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee's still alive and checking in every once in a while because he's busy in Hollywood.
Yeah, Netflix is always calling, man.
Right?
Netflix is always calling.
Yeah, I could see that. And then on the weekends, there's the group that gets together, and so just like it was to a certain degree in the Chinatown school, I could see that having continued throughout.
Well, Dwight, you've hit the nail on the head. It's like, you look at this, when you want to spend quality time with anyone who isn't your family, right? In our world, we just hang out with our friends that we do training with. Yeah, why wouldn't you want to do that? And the other one as well is, like, there's a relationship that's been built over all these years where you go, right, guys, we're in our 70s now. I still want to roll. I still want to kick pads. I should add, by the way, I don't think that getting punched in the head at any age is a good idea. I'm sorry, but I've seen what it's done. I have to wear a hearing aid now because of that. And as I said, never got knocked out, never got dropped.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and that's only not because I'm any good. It's just because I have a hard head.
Hey, I gotta insert something here, because you went like this and you said Gedan Barai.
Yeah.
Give us the background on that.
Oh,
I should ask you this at the beginning of our talk.
But Dwight, in classic JKD style, that we'll do this in a very long, non-linear mode, right? Yeah, I started martial arts at I started at 16. I was always interested in it, right? And the start of my life, the first 16 years of my life sound like a really bad country and western song, like really, really bad. I've said in previous interviews, I tried to kill myself twice before I was 16, and my moral code, I was beaten up at school really badly all the time, bullied by a guy who, looking back at, like, he's dead now, and I want to be like, I want to be an understanding and I want to be, Steven Seagal in that movie where he's with Michael Caine and he's like, I want to change, and he's with all those Inuits and all of that. I want to be him, but I'm not Steven Seagal. I'm Steven Seagal coming out of the coma wanting to kill people still, you know what I mean? Sorry, with the ponytail and running like a girl and stuff, right? So, sorry, Steve. By the way, I'll tell you a little story. I was supposed to interview Steven Seagal in Russia. Yeah, we had the visas, we had everything sorted. And then a couple of revelations came out, and I spoke to the TV producer and I went, I don't think it's a good idea, because I'll go over there and I'll become his best mate for 2 days, and then that will come back to haunt us. So we never went. But the guy who bullied me at school, he had a really, really, when I say a tragic end, like the worst episode of Criminal Minds you've ever seen. That sort of end, right? Yeah. And as I said, I would hope. I found out afterwards he was a horrible person anyway, and he was horrible. He was a horrible young man to me, and I met him 4 times in my adult life, and I rectified the situation 4 times. That's how understanding I was, right? And truly, he's one of the only people on the planet that wherever he is now, I hope they're playing AC/DC. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I was beaten. I was beaten really badly there, and I was getting beaten up at home. My relationship with my father was awful for the first 16 years of my life, definitely. But again, in hindsight now, looking back on it, one of the saddest things in your life that you find out is that your parents are human. I don't know if you ever noticed this, right? And what happens is when you find out that not only are they human, they can make mistakes, they're not infallible. Most of the time, they're more screwed up than you are. And and then you just go, but having children doesn't come with a manual, and some people just aren't equipped to have children. And my father was one of those reasons, one of those guys. But what happened was, I retreated. Believe it or not, like most of my moral code comes from the Book of Five Rings, The Art of War, and believe it or not, DC Comics. Yeah, so American comics, and it's one of the reasons why I love Americana so much, because nowadays we know what America is now. You know what I mean? But back in those days, it was an amazing place. Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, over in England, you know, honestly, I thought all gang fights were they were all sorted through the medium of dance, because all I'd ever seen was like West Side Story. So you know what I mean? It was like, oh, it's a knife fight. Oh my God, look at the footwork on that kid. Da, 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 da. Right? And then you find out it isn't like that. But when you're a kid and you're in a really, really dark place, you know, when you read, especially the comic books, you know, the good guy always won. And as I've said before, time and time again, the only difference between me and Batman is a couple of $1 billion, and he did a few more sit-ups than me. You know what I mean? It's like, but with Batman, it was like, right, okay, so you can change yourself. And then obviously martial arts at that time, it was almost magical. I always say this about, you know, when I teach kids, I always say, you know, martial arts should be like a superpower in comparison to other people. If you put the time in, it should be. Your understanding of everything's better. As I look at the Avengers, and I went, you know, tell me who's the most powerful person in the Avengers? And they go, the Hulk. And you go, he's just angry. Captain America, he was a guy who just got lucky and took a load of government drugs. You know what? I don't say that part, by the way. You know what I mean? I don't say that. Yeah. Tony Stark, what? He's got a cool suit and $1 billion. So maybe like the ultimate superpower is just being rich, right? And I went, you know, look at Hawkeye. What is he? Like literally, he's just Green Arrow in a different outfit. I said, who's the really cool one? And I went, Black Widow. What's the superpowers? Just as martial arts. And I went, yeah, and she's the girl in all this, you know. So I always explain that. So of course, martial arts, as soon as I was able to train, so literally I had these bad experiences, and then I thought, I can't get any lower than this. Yeah. And and it was like, I can't live with myself. I can't live with this constant fear. Like, and I was just afraid of the world. And I was waiting to go into a nightclub. By the way, I was 16. I shouldn't have been going into a nightclub. And a guy called Jeff Thompson, who's very famous in the UK and quite well known in the American stuff. Yeah. So Jeff, I actually was witness to an event in the book where he knocked out these 4 squaddies. So these 4 off-duty army guys who were drunk. Bang, 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 bang. And I was like, man, that's like exactly what I want. You know what I mean? I'll start martial arts. But remember I said earlier that I'm quite a lazy individual. I went to Jeff's gym, but the problem was it took 2 buses to get there. And I was motivated, but I wasn't that motivated. So what happened was Jeff actually said to me, well, I've got a friend of mine who's a little bit closer to you. And that was my first instructor, Andy Margaret. And that was where the realization came in, where I basically swapped getting beaten up by amateurs by getting beaten up by people who could actually kick the crap out of you.
Right.
So it was, and then I fell in love with martial arts, fell in love with, karate especially. And it had some of the answers for me. But at 16, as I said, one of the reasons I got into martial arts was I used to read Combat magazine, traditional karate, Martial Arts Illustrated come out, Terry O'Neill's Fighting Arts, all these different ones. And the one thing that always got me was there'd be a picture of this, looked like a kid to me, in a pair of, Rick, if you're watching, apologies. I'm only saying this because I'm like 6 hours drive away from his house. But like with the shortest shorts ever, which was a bit of a JKD standard, Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't get into JKD until we had to get nearer to the knee. You know what I mean? But so he's wearing a t-shirt and just going off to like these far-flung countries, going to LA, going to Minneapolis, and I'm like, that's what I need to do. And it was just that was the idea, just of being able to do that,
Mhm.
seeing somebody else do it, seeing Terry Barnett do it, see Rick doing it, seeing Bob do it, and I was like, yeah, Phil Norman, and I'm like, one day, and I was always interested in Jeet Kune Do. After seeing Dan Inosanto on TV, he was on The Way of the Warrior on the BBC once.
Oh yeah.
And then I actually saw him and Burton Richardson do a demo at the NEC, which is a massive, massive arena, not far in Birmingham. And it's really funny now. 10 of my dearest friends, 10 of us, were all there, and we were all on our own, and we're all still in martial arts.
Wow.
And we're all there, and every single one of us, Eddie Quinn, I've got to give a shout out to. Eddie's a wonderful, wonderful human being, a great guy. If you ever get a chance to interview him, I would do. And I was just blown away by this guy. And then it was like, I'm going to train in that one day. And then obviously meet the wife, still training, did a bit of door work, which I absolutely hated, by the way. You know, when people say that they enjoy doing door work, it's like, so you're meeting people at their worst, and then you have to deal with them at their worst.
Yeah.
And you're sober. Like, this is the classic, like it's Rick Faye, it's a classic line. Rick's like, so he's got 8 pints of lager. You're sober. He doesn't know he's going to get hit. And people want me to be really impressed that you won that fight. You know, it's like having a fight with a 4-year-old. You know what I mean? It's literally that level. And then, yeah, what I did was I moved over to Germany. And that's when I started training in Wing Chun. And I started training in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu there. And I was training in Muay Thai there. And I just had the tar beaten out of me. And that gave me a big wake-up call to what I needed to do. And I was training over in Germany. And then I came back, couldn't really find what I wanted to do. And I was 30 by this stage, still reading all the magazines. Still, one day I'm going to train with Terry Barnett and Rick Young, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be great. And as almost a very pedestrian attitude. That's why I'm so. Why I still have to pinch myself when I'm in a room with Dan Inosanto, because I'm like, I got to 30 and I did. I said to Terry Barnett, I went, Terry, when we met, I was 10 years later than I wanted to be. And Terry, being the wonderful human being that he is, Terry says, yeah, but what you like 10 years ago, would I have liked you? And I was like, no, probably not. No, you wouldn't tell. And he goes, so then we met at the right time, didn't we?
Right.
And again, the one thing I've used this analogy quite a lot about Jeet Kune Do, and especially the people in our community, definitely, is I've got a really good friend of mine, Gavin Mulholland, who's a really great karateka. He's an old school karateka, and we talk about whiskey quite a lot randomly. And he's like, it's a man's drink. He said, you can't drink that whiskey until you're at least 35. And it's I have this with JKD, because I always say JKD is like the whiskey of martial arts.
Right.
Because what will happen is you'll get some, and by the way, I'm not talking about age. I'm talking about like emotional maturity, where you'll get guys to come into JKD and you just see them pouring Diet Coke on top of an 18-year-old Glenfiddich whiskey, and they're going, oh yeah, but it'll taste nice, and you're like, it tasted all right on its own. And that was literally it. And through a friend of mine, Sid, we went and trained. I trained with Rick Young, and he just blew me away. And you'll like this, Dwight. This is one of my favorite Rick Young stories ever. The first time I ever met him, he was demoing. He was doing a Paxal, literally a Paxal Da. And I've only had it a few times in my life. When you're in front of somebody and they put their hands on you, and you have that just absolute, it's like the enormity of what's going to happen to you. Like, it's literally like an amount of whoop ass is coming your way.
Yeah.
You have, like, literally, he'll beat you up, and if you don't say thank you afterwards, that's how emasculated you feel, right? So literally, Rick did this packs out, like, and I still maintain, I use this line all the time. As soon as he hit me with the packs out, my life flashed before my eyes, right, Dwight? And you know what I realized? That there was far too few naked women or women in bikinis in that flashback of my life, or cocktails. Because I was like, I've had a really boring life here. Time to change that. And then literally, Rick Young really, he had always encouraged me anyway. But you know, he really did encourage me. And then I went over, and the first time I ever went to the Kali group, I'd never even trained with Rick Faye. I'd gone over with my friend Sid and another friend of mine, Pindy, and it was one of the maddest moments of my life because I walked in through the door, and when I walked in through the door, you know what, Rick's always been big on, he has to train too. So Rick always has to be, he was at the sharp end of the spear. And when I walked in through the door, there he is, and he's just pounding the bag. And I'm looking at it, and like immediately it hit me. It was like, this is where I want to train, because that's the guy. If there's one guy who can sit back on his laurels, it's that guy. And he isn't, and he's pounding away. And then, yeah, that's what got me into JKD, you know. So that, I know that's a bit of a long-winded way to say it, but, you know, when I first got into martial arts, I thought it had all my answers. And again, in great JKD style, all I did was pose loads of questions.
Yeah. Yeah. But see, so all those guys that you just mentioned,
yeah,
you and I would still have to sit them down one day and go, but understand this, you're Dan Inosanto. Like, he does not know that he's a living legend. He doesn't know it.
Terry Barnett would never be able to work it out, you know, because I've said it to him before. I said, Terry, you're Terry Barnett. It was his birthday during lockdown, and myself and my best friend Al Peaseland, we went down to visit him. So it was probably 4.5 hour round trip. You know, if you ever get the chance to interview Al, please do. You know, the guy's like an absolute, like, you know, he's a star in the Formula One world. He's one of those guys who's taken martial arts and the tenets behind it and the principles behind it, and then as he said, he sat down at a table, Formula One table, and literally he's the only guy who's not a billionaire on that table. Yeah, so that's like another level. And we went to see Terry, and Terry says, I can't believe you came all this way down. And I was like, Terry, for 9 years, we used to, I know in America it's around the block for you guys, but in England, driving 180-mile round trip is a big deal. You know, most people won't go do that for their mother. And for 9 years, every Tuesday, we did that. And Terry was like, I can't believe you're coming to see me. And I went, you're Terry Barnett. Yeah, like, this is a good point that I should say this. Yeah. First of all, there's no amount of thanks I could give to Terry. Not the training part, you know, it pales into comparison to the support, the love, the mentorship. You know, I get emotional when I think, you know, Terry Barnett's easily the single biggest male influence in my life. And as I used to say to him, you know, it was between him and my dad, right? And me and my dad had a great relationship at the end. But guess what? I had some awful memories at the start. I don't have one memory of spending time with Tal, where he's amazing. And like, if you ever get a chance, try and get him on. But Dwight, Terry and his wife, they encapsulate all of the attributes that I find wonderful in human beings. You know, they're very understanding, always handy to give you support. They're always on hand to give you support, wisdom, would do anything for you, and like unconditional love, but not in the way that, you know, they'll turn a blind eye if you do something bad.
Right.
You know, that sort of thing. And, you know, to get that from somebody, and you only went there to learn a front kick, you know what I mean? How amazing is that? And yeah, as I said, he's the one thing that you will find if you ever speak to anyone about Tel is, I've said this to Neil McLeod, mutual friend of ours, you know, the Duracell bunny, what a guy he is, right?
Yeah.
But it's like we've said before, you watch Terry move, like, and he literally is poetry in motion. And if you see him hitting the pads or even sparring, watching him when he's sparring, your brain almost wants to have a meltdown, because you can't believe that this wonderful, beautiful human being that you know is capable of doing that.
Right.
Because that's why I would say he's the ultimate martial artist, because it's like he's as I said, I just can't say enough good things about him. He's just a great person. And again, it's I've said it before. I call it the Inosanto effect, and it works two ways, right? So, in the really great way, the Inosanto effect is you meet all these different people, and they're all totally different, but just being around Dan, like being around Guru Dan, brings out the really good parts of them.
Yeah.
You know, there's always one attribute that will come up, and he truly is that whole thing where it's like he'll bring the best out in you.
Yes.
He'll do that, and then the other thing is you'll see it, and it's usually with guys who. I'm certainly not saying that I have a relationship with him, but you know, there's other guys where you look at them, and especially at seminars, you see them, and you're like, but you don't normally act like that. You know that bit where it's like, and they're like almost saintly, and you're like, you're not that guy. Like, we'll wait until Guru goes out the door, and we'll see what you're like then. And again, it's that whole, which again I think is almost like a superpower, because even people that aren't very nice try to be the best version of themselves, and half of it is like I don't know whether or not there's this almost like iconic status around the guy,
right?
Or it's the fact that it's just him. I hope it's the second, because again I've said this so many times and you'll know this, Dwight, because I know the sort of person you are. You know, these guys that say, yeah, but you guys are blind in your loyalty to Guru Inosanto. They never call him Guru Inosanto either. They always call him by a second name, which they go, you're blinded with your loyalty to Inosanto. And you're like, oh really? Okay. Well, I can name 15 guys that wouldn't follow anyone else. Because if you think about JKD, right? How many guys do you know that have loyalty to Guru Dan, but you look at them and you go, there must be something about that guy, because not one of those guys would blindly follow anyone else. Right. So it has to be someone of great character, or there has to be something there, and it's the truth. And again, as I said before, if it's good enough for my teachers to follow his example, it's good enough for me. Yeah. That's the other one that JKD unfortunately has brought out in a lot of people. The whole I'm researching my own experience. It's my own JKD. That's my favourite line. That is. It's my own JKD. And I said, it might be your chow mein, but I bet it tastes like crap. You know, just because you put the recipe together doesn't mean it's going to be edible. Doesn't mean it's going to be any good. It's like, and it's that whole reinventing the wheel. And it's like one of the reasons why I love the Minnesota Kali group. It's like, I'm just a cog in a machine, but damn, what a machine. You know what I mean? Where everyone else is trying to reinvent the wheel, or they're like, I don't know if you ever noticed this. You know, back there's not so many of them now. Which is quite a shame. A friend of mine, Steve Wright, we used to always laugh about this. You know, when you go to like a public seminar of Guru Dan's, and there'd always be a guy, and he used to turn up in a bit of a jumpsuit. And when I say he, there must be thousands of these dudes, because they were all looking different. But they turn up and they'd be in a jumpsuit, or they'd be dressed like John Kreese, you know, with the arms cut off the gi and stuff. And then they'd be busting moves out at seminar, and they'd be trying to catch Guru's eye. And I'd look and I'm like, that guy trained with Bruce Lee, and you think you're going to impress him? Yeah, come on, man. There's a level of exceptionalism. Yeah. And then there's a level of delusion, and it's like, you know, comes to like that was the greatest. One of the greatest bits of advice that Terry gave me when I was put on the program. Was actually a good excuse to share this story. So Terry said, you know, both Terry and Rick Faye put me forward to Guru to be put on the program. So I had no idea what was going to happen. Half of me thought it was going to be like, half of me hoped it was going to be like, you know, the Golden Child, you know, where you got that glass of water and I had to walk over all those stones. And it wasn't that at all. All I had to do was literally move around, work out. And, you know, it was like, well, Guru's been watching you and Guru or Joel have been watching you for a while anyway. So I'm training, I'm working with Terry, and Terry's making me look like gold, man. No, I've never looked that good ever. And then Rick Young comes over, and Terry's like, you just work out with Rick, now, do some Samarada now with Rick. So I'm working with Rick, and Rick Young is the loveliest man in the world, but there's a level of intensity with Rick that you just know that he's Rick Young, you know what I mean? And that's in my head, right? So we're doing the Samarada, and all the way through, Rick's just going, "Oh, Jesus, Mick, up your game." And he's going, "Oh, if Guru watches you now, what do you actually know this drill?" And he's doing all of this to me, and I'm just like, like that. And that, believe it or not, that was the bit that I got assessed on. You know what I mean? And but again, that was Rick being Rick, which was like, you know, Mick, you at the end of the day, you got to remember, you know, you're cool. And it was like, you know, Terry said it a few times, which is like, especially about the organization. He says Guru needs good people around him, and I don't know anyone better than you. And it was at that point where you're like, wow, man, yeah. Because I don't know about you, Dwight. Yeah, I try and be a good person, but I fight the urge to do horrible things all the time. You know, it's like, yeah, my dear friend Kurt Cornwell, I said that to him once, and he was like, really? And I went, every day, man. I said, because you got to remember, you know, it's, you know, integrity is doing the right thing when no one's watching.
Right. Yes.
And again, that all leads back to what martial arts is. It's like, you know, I want to be a better version of who I am. And I know deep down I'm a bit of a rat. You know, I know I am. You know, given the opportunity, most of us would admit that, you know. But yeah, it's the old martial arts has been a strange journey, man. I've got yeah, all of my formative any of my great relationships are all through martial arts.
Right.
You know, all of that. I met my wife through martial arts. You know, if I've got friends and they're not in martial arts, I get them into martial arts. You know, it's again, there's just something about that, spending time together. And then I don't know if you feel the same, but that, you know when you actually fall in love with learning again, which is pretty much gets beaten out of you in schools. You know, all of any of my major revelations I've done. Like, yeah, I'm a very autodidactic person. You know what I mean? I came out of school, I did my A levels, did quite well. I was going to go to university, and then my dad's like, "No one in our family's ever gone to university. Who's going to pay for this?" I was hoping you, Dad. You know what I mean? That's normally what parents do, and that isn't how it worked out. So again, you know, I've always, you know, I've always wanted to be a better version. Again, it's that, you know, there's a level of delusion, isn't there? When you start off, you're like, why isn't everyone else? Why isn't everyone else getting what I know? You know, I said that I've said that a few times.
Right.
I know there's something in there that, you know, if I just apply myself. And the thing is, I'm one of the laziest people on the planet, Dwight. I'd love to find out how good I would have been if I actually tried any of this. Yeah, I just I found a lot of it in. Yeah.
Well, you know, you're probably not as lazy as you think you are, but that what you mentioned is another thing about JKD guys that I have tried to beat out of them, which is this idea that they're normal, that they're nothing special.
Yes.
So anybody could do it. But Rick Faye, and I'm not saying that he does or did, but I would never let somebody like Rick Faye think about himself as being a regular guy. There's no way. There's no way. Nobody. No. There's only him.
Yeah. Well, you see,
know.
It was one of my motivational speeches I do at the end of each class. I always, well, not every, I do it at every class with kids. I always say, what do you want to be? Do you want to be ordinary or do you want to be extraordinary?
Yeah.
And they go, I want to be extraordinary. And I said, and do you know what you got to do? And they all go, extra, because that's all it is. You just have to do it.
I wish you could see the pictures, because I found one. It's you at the end of class, I assume, in the gi, and there's this cute little thing kneeling in front of you.
Oh, that's a Is it a little boy or a little girl?
It's a little girl. Yeah.
Ellie Mae. Yeah. So I've used this line quite a few times recently. That's my dear friend. He's one of my BJJ professors, Andy McCready. He's a lovely guy. I like to give shout out to him. His wife, his father-in-law just passed away from COVID, and he's using martial arts to get through it. Yeah, the extended family thing's really helping him. He's a great bloke, but his you know, it's quite. This is quite an interesting topic, you see, because as I said earlier, I got into martial arts basically to beat the crap out of the bully that ruined my life, which I did 4 times. And you know, when people say you'll get bored of that, you it, surprisingly, I really enjoyed it. Yeah. I was like, the 4th time I was going, I really understand why you did this to me, because I feel great now. Yeah, it's amazing. But you know, I got into that, and I got in that to so that I'd never have to get beaten up by my dad again. I'd never be scared again. But you see, that picture there is, as I've said, it's now you walking through the door and it's like Uncle Mick, and it's that whole situation where we spend what was it Shakespeare said about playing many parts in your life as as a man and stuff, and it's like that redefining who you are. When you're young, you're an ass kicker. And then obviously, it's like Guru Dan says every time when he teaches a seminar, he always says, no, you've got to remember we're all aging together. And then obviously, like, that line he does, he goes, right, everyone under 30, everyone under 25, put your hands up. Yeah. Everyone over 50, boom. The next thing you know, it's like that. It's like someone's offering free beer. There's that many hands have gone up in the air, right? And that's the point where you redefine what am I here for? And the picture would, like, as I said, I like nothing more than I go to jiu-jitsu and there'll be a couple of young guys there, and pre-COVID, I'm quite lucky where I train because we don't have any real idiots there. But if they come in, again, I'm saying about martial arts being a superpower, there's only 2 things that you can really straighten out a young horrible man. I have this theory that national service or conscription from 16 to 18, I think we need that as a society, because for those 2 years young men are very, very, very dangerous. So why don't we just put them with a load of other dangerous individuals, and then some really big dangerous guy will bark orders at them and make them get up on time and give them some regiment and all that. And we don't have that. So when they come into the gym and young men, they actually, because fighting's new to them, they think it's new to us, and they don't realize that we have boxing gloves older than them. So the only 2 ways I've ever seen like young guys get straightened out is older guys just put the hammer on them, or they get beaten up by young girls. And jiu-jitsu is great for that, because we have 15, 16-year-old girls. My professor Neil Simpkins' daughter's just turned 21, and we used to keep count on who would submit who. And I stopped when she was 13 because she was just beating me up. She's world class, by the way, but it's that whole thing where it's like some people need respect. Some people earn respect. Some people demand respect and they get it out of you. And then stupid people don't realize that fear and respect is the same thing to them. Yeah. And then what you've got is that picture with the kid is like, so what do I do? If I have to do that, then great. But what I'd much rather do is I'd much rather be the guy that rolled around the floor, and then like a 2-year-old kid wants me to helicopter armbar them 15 times in a row. Like the last time I was on the mat with Ellie May, I helicopter armbar her 6 times, and her mum was like, "You'll make her sick." And I went, "You feel good, don't you, Ellie May?" Yeah, so I helicopter armbar her another 5 times afterwards. And it's like, that's what I'm in martial arts for. Like I'm literally like a children's entertainer in a pair of pajamas. You know what I mean? But trust me, Dwight, I wouldn't have it any other way. I truly believe that there's too much of this tough guy nonsense. And the one thing you'll know in martial arts as well is if they really want it, why aren't they going to an MMA gym? I've seen smart guys get really, really stupid doing MMA. And then I've seen really, really stupid guys become quite smart doing BJJ. It's quite paradoxical, isn't it? But it's in martial arts especially, you get all these guys like, yeah, well, I just want to do it for real. And I'm like, so why haven't you signed up? You know, because, you know, the army's hiring every day. So if you want it that much, why aren't you doing it? And again, what does martial arts do? It makes you a better human being. You know, that's the whole I've had 300 fights nonsense. Dwight, when was the last time you ever enraged someone that much they wanted to punch you in the face? You know, as I've said before, I do martial arts, but guess what? I've got really good social skills. You know, I'm quite a well-rounded member of the community. Like, you know, when I was younger, you might have to watch out that I, you know, charm your wife or girlfriend away from you, maybe. But you know, the rest of it is like, yeah, sorry, you know, I won't be able to elicit a response from you that makes you want to hurt me or hate me that much.
Right.
And you know, and if I do, like, why don't you say what I'm doing, and maybe I'll change it, or maybe I'll just say, look, you know, lighten up, man. You know, yeah, it's a joke. Do you remember those? You know, and it's funny. You know, we're in very, especially now, we're in really strange times. I don't know about you, but yeah, I go on. Well, you know, because you follow me on Facebook. I'm quite well known for throwing the odd hand grenade in. So you know, discuss, guys. And then obviously it's a real interesting way of looking at stuff, because you see people, and it's like, why do you feel so strongly about that? You know, it's like, why are you so outraged over something when there's really, really important things to be worried about? You know what I mean? Yeah. That's like right now, what have we got that's really worrying? A pandemic that's like changed. Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna go. Like, literally, think about it this way. It's what the only thing we're missing from the worst bingo game ever, right, of calamities, is we're just missing alien invasion and zombies. 2020 has been the year of everything else that could go wrong has gone wrong.
Yeah, you're damn
and,
right.
And Dwight, we had the opportunity to show the best of us. And what did we do? We started fighting over toilet roll and pasta. You know what I mean? And I don't even like toilet roll that much. No, I do actually when I need it, right? But you know what I mean? I don't need that much of it. And it's just been a very, very strange time. And of course, when I see people, you know, people are really, really, really suffering. But it's that point where it's like, you know, that no matter how bad your day is, it's like that General Mattis guy. You know, it's like, get up in the morning, first thing you do, make your bed. Why? Because no matter how crap your day's been, when you go home, at least you've got a freshly made bed waiting for you. And that you have to find the little things. And like, you know, the whole, I've got into trouble on Facebook because I've said, you know, stuff like, you guys have just watched far too many Bond movies. You know, who's behind all this? Bill Gates. And you're like, really? Well, he's playing a very long game. That's 15 years he's been doing this ruse now, you know? And it's like, okay, so he's a billionaire. I think you'll like this. This is one of my favorite lines whenever anyone tells me about all of this conspiracy they've got going on. Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the history of the world. Like, that's ever. So that's, you know, like, I don't know. Did you ever hear about a guy called King Midas? He used to touch stuff and turn it into gold. He's richer than that dude, right? And how is Jeff Bezos rich? By selling us stuff that we don't need, but he'll get it to us tomorrow. Yeah, so it's, you don't even need this. It goes back to the old shake weight advert and George Foreman grill in the middle of the night. Yeah, you've caught me at the wrong time, George. I'll have 2 of those, right?
Yep.
But the situation is, even if Bill Gates isn't, or Pfizer, or whoever is looking for a vaccine, right? Even if they're not humanitarians, we both know, we talked about like economics earlier. Jeff Bezos, richest man in the world, selling us stuff we don't need. Imagine how rich the richest person in the world will be when he's selling us stuff that we do need. You know what I mean? And it's as simple as that. I've read the Bible a few times. There was a few plagues in that one, Dwight. You know what I mean? That's what this is. It's nothing new. You know, that's it. And when people get really despondent about it, the one thing I would say is, get away from social media. Unless, you follow me, because I'll always be good fun, right? But it isn't 5G. It isn't fluoride in the water. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, the world is run by a couple of guys who have got a few quid, right?
Yeah.
And the one thing I know about people who have a lot of money is, Dwight, guess what? They like to have a lot of money. You know what I mean? And they like a lot of people around to spend money to buy stuff that they've got. So it's just economics. But that whole, when I see people really like, it's quite worrying because some people are really, really struggling with this. And, you know, they're getting advice from people, you know, like from Karen from Facebook, you know, I want to speak to the manager. And you're like, you know, there's a reason why faith healers go to hospitals too, because science has got us out of a few jams, guys. You know what I mean? Yeah, the guy in the white coat isn't always a bad guy. He isn't always here to take you away. Sometimes he's here to help. And it's, especially in martial arts, it's the one that's got me, because a lot of people I've seen who I really think, you know, I'm like, but you guys are quite critical thinkers. You're quite smart individuals. And I have to preface this with this, by the way, Dwight. No matter what they believe in, if I like them, they're still my friend.
Right.
It's as simple as that. Because guess what? It is a matter of opinion and no more. And it's as valid as my opinion. You know, my opinion that, you know, the Bill Gates is sitting there stroking this cat going, ha ha, wait until I get that aspirin on steroids for all these guys, you know? Yeah, that's only my opinion. But what I do worry about is at the end of all of this, decades of friendships, and they're like, I'll never speak to you again. And you're like, what? Okay, then maybe this wasn't what we thought it was. You know what I mean? But especially in our world, we shouldn't have this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We shouldn't have that. And I know that's it's a bit of a downer, but you know, 2020. I don't know about you, Dwight, but I didn't think I was going to be going around wearing a face mask and like walking into a gas station and going, I'll have one of them and I'll have one of them. And they're turning around saying that I'm a responsible person now. I look like in 2019, I looked like I was doing a hold up. You know what I mean? You got the mask around there, you're pointing, you go, is it that? And that? And I'm not here to rob, I just want a Kit Kat. You know what I mean? It's mad. It's crazy times.
Yeah.
But great stories to tell the grandchildren, right? You know, not as good, I have to admit, not as good as being like a D-Day veteran. You know, where it's like, so what did you do to change the course of all of this awfulness in the world? Well, I went 4,500 miles across the Atlantic, and then me and all my brothers jumped out these boats and started storming these Nazis. Granddad, what did you do in 2020 to stop all of this? Well, I sat at home on 80% of my wages watching Netflix and eating Cheetos. And I wasn't happy about that. You know, that's the one bit that I can't work out. It's like, you're not being asked to do a lot. You're being asked to stay at home. You know, and it's like, you know, we haven't got any civil liberties. No, we haven't got civil liberties because right now we're working towards the greater good here. That's my opinion, by the way, you know. Mm-hmm. And again, it's, having said that, you know, Dwight, I'm not everyone's, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but I'd rather be a shot of tequila anyway. You know?
All right, Mick, on that note, all right, let's wrap this up. So I need you to message me the names of all those people that you mentioned that you think I should get on the show.
Yes, sir.
Just send me that. And yeah, man. Hey, this has been a long time in coming, but I'm really glad we were able to do it.
I'll tell you what, I loved it. It was so good. I had all this great profound stuff to say, and I ended up just doing a cheap Rodney Dangerfield tribute act. You know, I don't.
You're the greatest philosophizing plasterer that I know.
Well, do you know what? That's a niche market. I'll tell you what, we will sign off on this. I used to say to Bob Breen, Bob, I've only got one ambition in life. I want to be the greatest bald JKD exponent in England. And I went, oh, that's taken. And then, damn. And then a dear man, which it would be remiss of me not to mention this guy. There was a guy called Dave Carnell, who was a big mover and shaker in the UK. I don't know if you knew Dave, but Dave passed away, right? So Dave was a big influence on me. He's a lovely bloke, and he's his school got taken over. It's been taken over by one of his top students, Simon McGovern. I'd like to give a shout out to Simon because he's a lovely bloke. But when I went profoundly deaf, they thought I had a brain tumor at 41. So I got my wife to up all of my insurances online before I went and got the CAT scan, because if I'd have died, yeah, my wife would have been like a lottery winner, right? But I used the same line on Dave Carnell because Dave was profoundly deaf. So like, and he used to wear the hearing aid, and he saw me with the hearing aid, and he goes, "You got a hearing aid, Mick?" And I went, "Yeah, I wanted to be the best deaf proponent of JKD in the." Oh, and I thought, "I suppose you never heard that, Dave." And Dave turned around and he goes, "You know I can lip read, don't you?" And that was it. So yeah, so I'm looking for the niche market, like a philosophizing plasterer will have to do, but that's a niche market that I'm in, right? Yeah,
There you go.
yeah. I may not be the best, but I'm in the top one. Yeah, that's how that one works. But Dwight, thank you so much for your thanks for putting me on.
My
I can't
pleasure,
wait
man.
to have a look at this. I'd just like to say I want to get you, because myself, Will Henshaw from Woma, and Ant McGinley, who does my podcasts, I'm going to get you, and I'm going to turn the tables on you. I know that Kent Nelson's done it to you, but get your music history ready, favorite movie ready, because it'll be right out there. And when we talk next time, I'll tell you about how I Jean-Claude Van Damme's bodyguard. Now, that's the story.
All right. We'll save that for next time, Mick.
No worries. God bless.
All right. Have a good one, man.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks, man.
All right. That was episode. What, man? It's been a long time in coming. I've wanted to have Mick on for so long, right? I'm looking at my notes here. Didn't use any of my notes whatsoever. I love when that happens. All right, so let's see. Next Friday, JKD Dialogues, episode number 157. This will be with Kevin Lee, who is, I believe, Kevin is Francis Fong's second in command out there in Georgia. So he'll be on with me next Friday. So that's it, right? Feel free, like, share, comment. I'll ask Mick to go through and see if there's anything he needs to reply to. Follow me on Instagram at Dwight Lee Woods and on Twitter at Dwight Woods. I love jeetkundo.com. The Quick Skill Series Volume 1 still available. And that's it. That's it. Signing off. You guys enjoy your weekend wherever you are. Hopefully COVID's treating you nicely and thereabouts. Talk to you soon. Take care.
That's me.
Right, literally that's all I want. From there, the concept is the same. From here you've got it. From there, boom, okay. Oh, does it look like Silat now? Do I look like a really bad Mal Morning? Yes, I do. Mal's the man if you want to see stuff like that. But I just need to get in here. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. After a while, when he comes in with that shot, I go, boom, that's the first thing I give him. Oh man, if only you could get a Linsil Da into that, eh? If only you could get some Wing Chun into this. All of it's Wing Chun, all of it's martial arts. When he comes in, the first thing is just cover. Then watch, covering hip. There we got him. Right about here, it all goes south for you, my friends. Because at the moment, I'm being nice to him. Now I'm not being nice to him. Now I'm really not being nice to him. And there? Oh, really? Oh, you do Jiu-Jitsu? Ah, nice. Because I like that too. Right? So guys, just do the arm drag, mess about with it. What will happen is I will walk around and I'll see all of you do, you get to do it to me, watch. Okay. Alright, belly help, beautiful. Oh, anything you want, oh wait a minute, don't, what are you, a Catholic priest? Right, okay. One more, yeah, I'll do my Father Nelson joke later. Right, so watch. Ah! But I'm a bit of a lump and I won't go down unless you want me to go down, right? Yeah, that's the other one you got to remember. People will say you're never going to get me into this position. Really? I tell you what, you need to speak to my prom date because she'll tell you I got her into positions that she really, no, I didn't have a prom date, you understand what I'm saying? But it's like, when people say it's not going to happen, you just say, right, I don't think I'm going to go for 2 weeks to Skegness with my in-laws. Guess what? I better have a plan when I'm there, because Skegness sucks. Oh, you want to keep holding that arm? Right, okay, I'll take that one instead. Right, guys? Easy peasy, Japanese. Arm drag. Do a Tai Chi sail. After that, it's up to you. Right?